Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is William. How y'all doing this morning? And I come to y'all with some refreshing information. Let's say some refreshing conversation. How about that? Um, Cut this off. Let me just start by saying, first I want to thank the Lord um for guiding His children to give me some insight on stuff that I pretty much already knew, but I need to be refreshed to that. Y'all, we can get ourselves in a situation where that people can be wronging us, and they'll wrong us so much until we'll start wronging ourselves at the same time because we don't sit there and discern between what God is saying to us versus what the devil is saying to us. So a lot of times we like to strike out because we being wrong, we end up being wrong too, because we allow the situation to be wrong coming towards us, and then we'll be wrong with the situation going back because we don't assess the situation accordingly under the Lord. Now this young lady, and I thank the God for this young lady that gave me some insight and refreshed my intellect. Than what I always knew, let me just tell you this. I used to say stuff like my antenna was being alerted, but she said, no, you don't say stuff like that. Say God was telling you what was going on. You just wasn't listening. So that really opened me up because God was telling me, and I give God the respect and the honor for doing so. But as being wrong, I was wrong. You know what I'm saying? In the flesh. And this young lady in the Lord told me that, God want to be reverenced and God wants to be loved, and no question about that. And when we entangle ourselves in situations that lure us from that, the devil have his way. Okay. So now, in light of that, and saying that, this is what I'm saying, that this young lady in the Lord had told me some stuff that really refreshed my mind and intellect, as far as being the child of the Lord and listening to the Lord and having the love of God. So I'm going to just tell y'all, I'm going to pass this on to y'all as well. She said one important thing to me, and this important thing that she said to me was this. I ain't worried about a man loving me, because if he loves God, he gonna love me. He gonna know how to love me. You know what? When she said that there to me, we got all these type of relationship, but people take titles. They take pastoral titles. They take ministry titles. They take in the fivefold ministry titles, and they got a bit of love of God in them than anything. Because if they got the love of God in them, that whatever position that you is in life, whether you're a husband, whether you're a wife, whoever you may be, if you got the love of God in you, you're going to love the person in your life just like you're supposed to. Because just like the Lord said, how can you say you love God and then treat your husband or your wife like that's bad. That's all I'm going to just say. And not to be clean, honest, and up forth with your loved ones. So, so I listened to the young lady, and she was telling the truth. I mean, because my spirit related to what she was saying, because I let a lot of stuff get by, and I let a lot of stuff go. But it comes out, that's why I said sometimes you got to go back to the beginning. You got to go back to the beginning. The Lord tells you stuff, and the Lord have already trained you for stuff. Only thing you got to do is listen to what God has already trained you. So when stuff come your way, you know it, because God ain't gonna put you in a situation that He haven't first trained you for. Now we got a lot of people that go around here and say how much they love God, and I'm gonna question that. And the reason why I'm gonna question that is because if you love God, then you're gonna do what's right by God. Let me say it again in case y'all didn't hear me. If you claim and professing that you love God, then you're going to do right by God, because God has said so. Love God. So how can you say you love God when you don't even love, for How can you say you love God whom you can't see and not love the one that you can see? Now answer that question. How can you say you love God whom you can't see, but not love the one whom you do see? Man, let me tell you something. I ain't calling this young lady name out. Well, she ain't young, but she, well, I call it women young anyway, because, the smartness of the Lord into their brain, into their heart, and they could speak as such. And I just thank the Lord for putting her in my path, the intellect to talk to me, to be able to talk to me, and help me with the things that I already knew, to resurface the things that I already knew. You know what I'm saying? Because we have the Lord in us, and we know things. And sometimes we'll forget everything that the Lord has taught us, and forget everything that the Lord has put on us, and then we'll fall ourselves in the snare of the devil. That's what we'll do. Because if you participate in it for such a long time, you forget all about that you're wrong, and you begin to think that you're right when you're really wrong. So I don't know who this is going out to and who is going to take this and feel what I'm really saying, because these relationships can't get right without God. Let me go ahead and put that out the top. These relationships, I don't care if you're a minister, I don't care who you are, especially if you're professing in the ministry, that's like this young lady said, so people can claim any title. You can claim a title being a minister, you can claim a title being a preacher, but claiming a title and doing it is two different things. Let me say that again. Claiming a title in the church and doing it is two different things. And that's where I draw the line. Because, I always said this, and when my upbringing and my learning in the Lord, I always say, you know what, I ain't want that going up that ladder without the Lord, because I know going up that ladder without the Lord, boy, so you ain't nothing but waiting on the devil, he waiting on you. He waiting on you to put to snare you, to confuse you, to do everything possible him to you to keep you from going up that ladder right. And that's always been my very beginning, is go up that ladder right in the Lord, because I don't want to think myself high-minded. I don't want to think myself to be better than anybody else. I don't want to think myself, and the Lord actually tells us to consider ourselves less, so we won't be high-minded in dealing with other people. Consider ourselves less, because that way we can be able to communicate with people effectively. But if you don't consider yourself less, and you consider yourself high-minded, ain't nobody going to receive you like they supposed to, because they're going to be already thinking that you're high-minded. You know what I'm saying? So, and I begin to understand some little bit what God says. Consider yourself less. That way you gain the person that you going after. You gain them because you consider yourself less. And then your communication to the person or persons will be beneficial. So I just want to put that out there this morning, y'all, to just let y'all know that if it ain't of God, you ain't gonna have no good relationship. Because devil people shouldn't got good relationship, because they do stuff bad. So, so when you on a God and you love God, then don't tell me you love God and treat your husband or your wife bad. You ain't gonna ever get that by me. To anybody that's professing that they love God and treat their husband or wife bad, you better go ahead with that. Now I'm finna step this thing up, because see, this is me, and this is what I always been. But when I allowed myself not to be me anymore, and I'm still me, but when I allowed myself to be in a situation that was unbenefit, that was not profitable for me, that becomes my fault. Because you know why? Because God has taught me better than that. God has taught me better than that. So when things start to happen that I'm looking at and God is telling me that thing that ain't right, then I should have been listening that thing won't right. I ain't got to know what's behind it. I just got to know that thing won't right. And it wasn't right. So, And I'm just putting it out there boldly. Because one thing in the Lord, when I'm right about something, I speak boldly about it. And I don't want to step on nobody's toes. Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. Let me start. Don't let me start there. Y'all want to step on your toes because I want to let y'all realize that if you saying that you love God, then why are you not treating your husband or your wife not right? If you professing that you love God, why are you not doing what you're supposed to do as a wife or as a husband? And I'm saying both, y'all, because the reason being, because it's always one or the other or both. Because if you say you love God, then you're going to treat your significant other as such. No questions asked. And I think that's all I got to say this morning. But anyway, take for whatever is worth to y'all, to the hearers, to listen, that we always end up in bad relationship because when God ain't there, you know, a house divided can't stand. And that's always been my number one thing. A house divided cannot stand. And if the devil be divided against himself, his kingdom can't stand. So if a house divided, y'all, and I'm gonna tell you one other thing that the child of the Lord told me. He said, and this person said it just like this. And I'm gonna tell y'all just how this person said it, because I don't like to say stuff different than what a person said. It said, you and no boys you got is a package deal. So you ain't gonna be loved without your boys being loved as well. So she said the same thing. Your boys are gonna be loved as well, because y'all are a package deal. The people that the Lord put in your way to strengthen his kids back up and to teach his kids that, hey, you already had this. It's just you slipped out and you went on your flesh rather than going on your spirit. And that spirit of men listening to me, because the spirit of God is going to only tell you what's right. And not going to argue with you, not going to fuss with you. The spirit of God is going to only tell you what's right. And when you're not listening to what the spirit of the Lord says, God's not going to fight you, because you make your own decision. That's why he gave us what they call that mind, to choose to who you going to serve. So, and I come back to y'all with some more as it come to me. This morning, this came to me. I had a lengthy counsel, I'm going to call it counsel conversation. And the counsel conversation was this: just what I already know. Just what I already know. Because ain't no people that says they love one another under God and hurt one another. I never ever get that one. So that's why I say, whether your men is wrong or whether your women is wrong. Or let me correct that. Whether your wives is wrong or whether your husbands is wrong, and you professing that you love God and being wrong, I'm gonna tell you to wake up. I'm gonna tell you to wake up while you still can. Wake up and do what's right. Those ones that's professing in the Lord that they love God, I'm going to ask you to wake up and love God for real, and stop your shenanigans and stop your manipulation. Stop being high-minded. Stop being about you. You know what I'm saying? Because God ain't selfish. But he is selfish when it comes down to loving him, because he wants you to serve him and him only. And he got every bit of that to be selfish all he wants, because that is the one that we serve. So if any of y'all professing that y'all love God, think about what you're doing in your life. Just think about what you're really doing. If you really love God, think about what you're doing in your life that ain't right and that don't line up with God. And you women, you wives, let me tell you something. You ain't going nowhere without your husband. Nowhere. Because if your husband stand right, you ain't going nowhere without your husband. Nowhere. You can say, I'm going to go. You ain't going nowhere. You're going around in a circle. They're gonna come right back to be more or less than what it was when you went around the first time. Think about that. Think about that. I'm talking about you men that stands and stand for what's right, but be broken. And people always try to break you. And from one way or another, whether it be by wife, whether it be by woman, whether it be by friends, whether it be by children, whoever it be, always stand to hurt something that's good in the Lord. And I'm here to take a stand right now, buddy. No, sir. I cast that devil down in the name of Jesus, because you know what? I have allowed difficulty to come in that they never ever supposed to come there. That's my fault. See, we have a tendency when we wrong, we want to blame God for what we do that's wrong. But don't do that. Admit first what you were wrong at, because you didn't listen. And because you didn't listen, you made your own decision to do what you wanted to do. And people think it's such an easy thing to fall in the hands of the Lord and to not do right by the Lord. Boy, I tell you something, you better watch out for that. You better watch out confessing that mouth and your actions is far from. I'm going to let y'all go over there because I ain't want to hold y'all long. I just want to drop that into y'all spirit this morning and to help y'all grow thereby and stop professing this something that you're not living. That's the message for today. Stop professing to something that you're not living. Thank y'all for hearing.